everyone.
So we have a topic for today that we want to talk to you all about. And what that is how to respond to coworkers' improper processing of equipment. You know, when you see somebody doing something wrong, whether it's in decontamination, the prep assembly, or anywhere in the department. What do you think about that question there, Pernell? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a really good question, and probably a question some people, find themselves confronted with. Seeing a coworker doing something differently to the way you were taught, essentially doing something incorrectly. What do you do? Well, I think for one, every single technician needs to have, a conscience and something that directs them as a technician. You have to make sure that whatever you're working on, you're doing it by the book, always. So you have to have a conscience about your work. And you have to follow IFUs. I mean, instructions for use are out there to ensure that people do things the right way. So that's how I would start out on that question, Harry.
Yeah, this is, something that I've dealt with many years as a technician, 20 years of being a technician in sterile processing, that I would see my coworkers doing something wrong. And it kind of goes back to, 9/11 and the response of what we did, or what, the saying that was going on at the time after that, where if you see something, say something.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's everybody's responsibility that if you see something being done improperly that can jeopardize patient safety one way or another, or delay a case, you need to say something. Now, typically what I would do is I'd go to my coworkers and I'd let them know that, what they were doing was incorrect. And I would also try to share with them why it was incorrect, share the standards with them. Now, don't always get a positive response back from them, in as far as, whether or not they really appreciate what it is that you're saying. So oftentimes, you have to give them the first opportunity to be able to respond. If you get pushback, if they're not willing to do things properly, then at that point, I believe we need to go take it to the next level. Make sure our leads are involved, the supervisor, or possibly the manager, because this is just too important of a process that we do on a day-to-day basis. Because everything that we do can affect the outcome of a procedure, whether it's up in the GI lab, up in the OR, the emergency room, labor and delivery, or even the patient floors. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
we need to speak up, and not be afraid. It's hard. I'm not going to say that it's easy. It's not easy to stand up and put yourself in the middle of the road, so to speak, to be able to do the right thing. But anything proper, anything worthwhile is hard in life, period.
Absolutely agree. Again, we work by professional standards. Our instructions for use are our guide. The education that we bring to bear should be our guide. The other thing I want to talk about briefly, Harry, too, is how can managers and supervisors affect what we're talking about here? I jotted down a couple of notes. It's something that we always talk about. Managers have to be proactive. They have to understand that these are the kinds of issues that you are going to be dealing with. There are going to be times when people are not going to do things the way they're supposed to do them. So we know that's going to happen. So you have to really set a tone for your department by making it crystal clear that there is zero room for error in your department. You have to set that tone. People need to do things by the book. And you also have to let your staff know that if they see something that is not being done correctly, or if they have questions about how certain things are being done, they have to be very comfortable in coming to you and discussing whatever those issues are. So setting the tone in this regard, I think, is really important on the part of managers and supervisors.
Yeah, a lot of managers, I mean, they talk about, open door policies, but they don't necessarily practice that. In other words, when people come to them, they act as if it's an imposition on them that that they're bringing something to them. It's like, oh, here we go again. And again, we have to foster a culture of trust. So that our staff can trust us to come to us and speak about these issues that are bothering them, whether it's, again, going back to a coworker doing the improper thing, or, education. Another topic, or not topic, but on the same question of how can managers affect what's going on in their department is, make sure that you're doing at least bi-monthly training. Once every 2 weeks, you can have a staff meeting, once every 2 weeks, and then have training sessions where you bring outside vendors so that everybody is aware of, the proper methods in order to do their job. You can bring in specialists to come in and train on the standards, the AAMI standards that we use. You can have the vendors come in and train upon their IFUs, how to access their IFUs, whether it be through their website, through their customer service, or through OneSource Docs, which is, to me, is my go-to tool to be able to have access to most of the IFUs that are available. Training, is key as far as I'm concerned.
Well, there's no substitute for training. If you want someone to accomplish a goal and you want them to be consistent at it, then there has to be a certain level of training involved. And like you said, Harry, training is key. Training is key. So we train, train, train.
Yeah.
On that note, one of the things that us here at Central Sterilization Solution provides is training for sterile processing departments.
Pernell, start off by, telling people how you got into sterile processing. Where did you start in the medical career?
Well, so before I joined the Navy, back in the late 80s, I worked in nursing homes as a nursing assistant. And I did this for several years. I loved my job, loved my patients. It was my first introduction into the world of medicine. I mean, my mom had been an occupational therapist and had been in healthcare all her life. But so I got a job at a nursing home, and that kind of started it all for me. I joined the Navy a few years after working in nursing homes, and became a medical corpsman, and was also trained as a surgical technician. So I developed my love and interest for everything surgery, and sterile processing from the United States Navy. So I got my start there. Served in the Navy for 15 years in that capacity. And then I got out of the Navy and went directly into managing sterile processing departments throughout Southern California. Did that for several years and decided I wanted a little bit more, wanted to be more free, I guess. So I left that world and went into sales for a little bit. Sold some medical devices, was quite successful at it for a couple of years, but then was drawn back to sterile processing as a consultant, as a content expert. Met Harry, and we've been looking at the world of sterile processing through the same lenses for a very long time. I think we both have a tremendous amount of passion for the people who do this work and for the art and science that it is.
Yeah, it's funny how there are some similarities as far as how we got into this. I myself, right out of high school, I didn't have any medical background, didn't go into any nursing homes or anything like that. I went straight into the Navy. As you know, Pernell, I was also a hospital corpsman.
Right.
Did 6 years, 4 years active, 2 years active reserves. And during my active reserves, went into sterile processing, and was a technician for 20 years before I finally went on and became a supervisor at a facility in Los Angeles, where and that's where you and I actually had the opportunity to, maybe in our past, we've seen each other and knew each other, but it was at this one facility that we had actually had the opportunity to work together.
Yep.
And 2 years after that, went on to become a manager at another facility. And I think was it around 2011 is when we first started, or 2010 when we first started talking about the school side of business. And we got I think myself and James, who's not on the broadcast today. We actually
we have to get him on. We have to get him on. Yeah.
And then it was shortly thereafter, Pernell, you got involved on educational side, but your focus has always been consulting for the most part. We've had difference of opinions as far as where to go, but then again, we have Central Sterilization Solutions that brings the educational side with a component of the consulting side as well. And
Absolutely.
so, that's one of the things I think that, to tell everybody that Pernell and I, just between the two of us, we have close to, 60 years of experience within this field of, working in ORs, sterile processing, and the medical field. And it just doesn't stop at sterile processing. It includes infection prevention and control, because in fact, that's what sterile processing does. We stop the infection for patients before any of our equipment gets to them. So, I think that's great, as far as letting people know that, we are available to be able to come out to facilities anywhere in the nation. And, I've been out on assignment several times up in Oregon, different places, and ultimately it is going to come down to the training. It has to come down to building that trust with your staff, and letting them know that you support the fact that they speak up, not just to management, but to coworkers as well. Again, there's nothing better than preventing an injury to a patient than when you actually see it happening at the time, when a mistake is being made and you stop somebody. Perfect example. When I was a tech, I had this one person who, would constantly put through dirty instruments through the washer. And when I'd get them, they're dirty, and I put them back through the window and the entire tray. Because if one instrument's dirty, the whole thing is dirty. And he would get upset with me, and I would tell him, I'd show him the pipe cleaners. Look, there's still blood on it. Clean it again. I think one tray. Yeah, one tray. That's basically what I was telling him. Do your job. In a nice way, though. But I had to send that one tray back through. I think it was like 3 or 4 different times. Mm-hmm. There was another situation, same employee. He just took a load out of the sterilizer, had to deliver it to the operating room. This is at a surgery center that I worked at. Mm-hmm. And he was going to put it on a metal cart. And so I'm just letting him know, hold on, I'm grabbing a towel to put it on the metal cart because it was a solid top. Mm-hmm. And, so that way it wouldn't condensate, to protect the integrity of the package. Right. And he just looked at me and he put it down anyway before I had a chance to put the towel. And did it cause a delay? Yes, primarily because he contaminated it, because it did condensate. So mm-hmm. what I did immediately is I just took the tab, ripped it open, and again, he got upset with me. And I said, hey, I didn't contaminate it. I lifted the tray up and I showed him on the countertop of the cart is a solid mm-hmm. stainless steel. There was moisture there. I said, you contaminated the moment you put it down. I said, and all you had to do was wait a couple of seconds for me to put a towel down for you. I was trying to help you. Yeah. I said, now you can go explain to the doctor, or would you like me to explain why his trays are being delayed?
Having policies and procedures and processes in place, for certain critical tasks is very important. Obviously, as a manager, the other way that we can affect the consistency of the product that we put out, Harry, as you know, we recommend these all the time, is by doing audits, right?
Yes.
You want to make sure you're doing audits at least weekly. Supervisors, leads, managers really need to get into these critical areas like the sink and the decontamination area. You really want to take a look at that process per technician with a good auditing tool. It is your job to make sure that you're monitoring those critical processes. So I would say, along with setting the tone and making sure that your people know that they can come to you to tell you what they see, the fact that somebody isn't doing this correctly or they have questions about the way something is being done. That's critically important to set that tone. They have to want to come to you. But the other thing is,
well, you talk about the audits, being done at least weekly.
Audits. Absolutely.
Yes. And I've seen, Pernell, whereby, managers, they say they do audits, but they do it once a month, once a quarter. And again, it has to be regular audits. If you're not checking weekly, and I don't mean once a week you go to the department and doing audits. It's once a week you're doing an audit on a particular employee, but that should actually be a daily thing. Not necessarily that the manager has to do. You can get your lead technicians involved in doing the audits. If you have supervisors, if you have an educator, get everybody involved in the ownership of what goes on in your department. And an audits is a great way. And I know that Pernell, we have an audit tool that that we give to our customers once we've been hired, that not only tells them the step-by-steps of how to do an audit, but also has the AAMI standards built into them as well. So that way, when you're doing an audit with the staff member on cleaning, you're able to then tell them, you have it right there on the form. This is what you should be doing. These are the steps based on the IFUs, as well as this particular chapter in, let's say, ST 79, if it's in decontamination, 91 or 58, depending on whether it's low temperature, high temperature sterilization, endoscopes that you're processing. So, the AAMI standards, there's so many different standards that are available to you that I think any manager should have in their toolbox along with the audits. And again, that's available to anybody that that hires us to come in. We do mock surveys, to see where you're at, and that's when you're going to be able to get the audit tool. Again, if it's not being done on a regular basis, and again, you said once a week, but if you, let's say, have 20 employees, then pick 5 employees that you're checking that week and another 5 employees the following week. Audits don't take that long. Audit, you can do a quick 10, 15-minute audit. It could be a 2-minute audit, right, depending on what's going on. So it doesn't necessarily, we're not talking about it taking hours and stuff like, for that, to happen. But it's very important that we do it on a regular basis. When we see when the staff see that we're going to be doing that and that we're holding them accountable, believe it or not, it's like a child growing up. A child will react badly or good, depending on the type of attention that you're giving them. And when they act out badly, it's because you're not paying attention to them, most of the times. And so the same with the staff. If you're not paying attention to what's going on, some staff will act out because we all want to be doing things properly. I don't think anybody ever goes into work thinking that I'm going to mess this up today on purpose. If they do, during those audits, we'll find something like that out. We got to either train them up or train them out. It's we got to, end result is you got to protect the patient.
Bottom line. And, if you're not auditing, you should be. And it's important to have an auditing process in place. And again, we can provide help with that. But again, people should feel comfortable. People should want to speak up when they see things that they question, and the environment in the department needs to be such that people feel good doing that. But affecting these critical processes by management, again, is key. Like Harry was saying, those audits, you have to get in the habit of doing those audits on a consistent basis if you're not already doing so.
Outstanding. Well, let me ask you this, Pernell. Do you have any other topics that you want to talk about? Or I think we covered what it is that we wanted to talk about today. I feel really good about this short show. I think we're going up on 25 minutes, and sometimes I think some of the shows, they go a little bit too long and people aren't able to actually stick with us because it ends up being too long, and it's so they'll come watch us later. By the way, I did want to let you know, Pernell, that we have, because we are live, we have at least 2 people on the show, and so
my parents, I'm sure.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, this is being broadcasted through Central Sterilization Solutions page. And, send us messages, send me a message through Facebook, LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, any topics you want people to discuss, we're more than willing to, if you have a really good topic and you want to be on our show, just let us know. And we'll do a pre-interview, so to speak, to make sure that we've got everything aligned about what we're going to talk about, because let's face it, we would like to have the audience be able to participate and, be able to hear their voice. So this is being done under CSS Nation is our group on Facebook. So any and all sterile processing professionals, feel free to join the group. Pernell and I are the admins. And so long as you have a background in sterile processing, doesn't have to be actively working. You could be working for a vendor, but you either support sterile processing or you're in sterile processing. We'd love to have you as part of our group on CSS Nation. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, at this point, I'd like to shout out some of the up and coming platforms that are out there, people who are out there trying to make a difference with their voices and having people on and discussing this topic and topics that mean a lot to us in this field. I think we're, very privileged to be in this very important and dynamic field. There's a lot of changes going on. I think it's a great time for sterile processing with the technologies that are out there right now, but also with these platforms and the conversations that we can have. So I'd like to shout out people like Sterile MD, who's out there doing his thing. What's the show, Harry, with Sarah and the other guy?
We have. I know there's Hank Balch out there, the Beyond Clean group. I know Sarah B has been on their show,
doing big things. Yeah.
Oh, they're huge. Sarah B. Cruz, she has her. I'll have to do some more research. I know that she has her own platform where she's doing, I think, podcasting and, a lot of information. She has her own website. Love to get her on the show. But,
our friend, we were on with her the other day. She's doing so many big things in the field. She also does a little beer making, right?
Oh, yeah. There is... let's see here. I'm going to
Eye on SPD. Go check that out. Eye on SPD. Huh?
Yes, that's Eye on SPD. That person is Celendra. She's awesome. She's from the LA area, but I believe she's back in Georgia right now, making her beer and stuff like that. It's I'm not a beer drinker, but I just for the fun of it, I just might go ahead and get my own distillery thing to be able to make beer if that's the proper term.
I'm sure she'll help you out with that. I'll tell you what, if I'll drink it for you, don't worry, I got you.
Yeah, so Celenda Bearfield is her name.
Eye on SPD.
Yes,
We've been on with her on Bernard's channel, Sterile MD, who's doing his thing.
Process. Yes.
Yep, the process.
You know what? Some of the up and coming people in our field that have been our past students. You have Roxanne from out in LA area.
She's doing the Methodist thing right now, I believe.
Yeah, so she's up and coming star. I truly believe she's doing wonderful things there at Methodist. And in later shows, we will go ahead and highlight and give shout outs to some of our past students and other people that we've met in our travels. Yeah. So
back in 1972.
Well, the proper term, as my grandfather would have said, was back in 1972. So. All right. Well, that's it for now, folks. I want to thank you for watching our show. Pernell, thank you for being on with me. Thank you for being a partner. And any last words before we sign off?
We'll be back.
Have a good one.